What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy holidays to everybody, to all the Lisas out there, all of you that subscribe and watch my channel. Just start off by saying happy holidays to all of you and many blessings to you and your families. Real Madrid starts off the game pretty slowly and poorly today. I have a few notes that I wanted to cover in this game. So I'm going to start off first talking about the way we started this football match with Dean Housen giving up possession pretty poorly early on in the game. Obviously, winning a game like this, we need to win given the very poor run that we've had. Obviously, there's been a lot talked about in the press about what would happen with Xabi Alonso if we did not win the games that we had. Obviously, we now go into the break. We're 1 point behind Barcelona, but they have to travel away to Villarreal. Let's hope that Villarreal does us a favor and Barcelona drops some points. Inevitably, they're going to start going through a bad run and dropping points. So it's inevitable, whether it's the game against Villarreal or a little bit later down into the season. But the truth of the matter is, of course, again, today we were poor. It was not good enough today. We didn't look good. A lot of, a very slow intensity early in the game. Dean Housen gives up the ball cheaply a lot early in the match. The thing is, I was just looking at some of his passing out of the back. And it's not just about the passing on the back because we rely heavily on Dean Housen's passing and ball progression, and that's why he was signed. But it's his recovery pace that's a bit of a concern because he's 20 years old. He's a player that relies heavily on his ball progression. So when that goes, and he's now put in a situation where he's 1-on-1 against some of these players, if Kylian Mbappe was playing today for Sevilla, they would have scored 2-3 goals in that first half. Because the truth of the matter is, not only did he give up the ball cheaply, but when he's being put in these one-on-one situations where he's having to defend and rely on his recovery pace is simply not there. And so that's why it's so critical for him to figure this out. Of course, he grows into the game, but I can't help but notice early in the match when they were sort of going 1v1 and they were pressing and they were being really aggressive in the way they were timing and the way they were actually going about their pressing sequences, it made it very difficult to anticipate. And so that when you, at times where you felt that you had a lot of time on the ball, it turns out you didn't. And that was one of the mistakes that Dean Housen made. So just something to highlight as a concern because what we did early in this game with Tchouaméni then coming in to form a back three and Antonio Rudiger, Dean Housen, and Tchouaméni forming the back three, what that did was it moved Fran Garcia high up the pitch where he was sometimes playing as an interior left attacker. He wasn't even playing sometimes as a winger. So the thing is, I, to me, this new position that Vinicius is playing, I'm trying to make sense of it because we heard rumblings of Xabi Alonso saying that he was going to play Vinicius not necessarily as a left winger the way he's been played over the last few seasons, but to play more in this free roam system. And that's what we saw today. At times, Vinicius was on the right. He was playing as a right forward, at times as a left forward, at times at left wing. But what that does is it makes it so difficult for the team when they're building play to find Vinicius and he's getting fewer touches on the ball. And typically, Vinicius is the kind of player that needs to get many touches on the ball for him to get going. And his best performances that he's ever had, it's always been him in the second half, later in the match, growing inches is growing and he's taking the belief away from the full Vinicius. Whereas now he's playing more on the inside, and so he's getting less touches on the ball, which means there's a requirement for him to be more efficient. And I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen him take that leap where he's not touching the ball a lot. He's having less instances where he's affecting the game, but he's being very effective with those few touches. Just something for Xabi Alonso to because again, our forward players, Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius, in this match, players are not having many touches on the ball. The movement out of possession is also not right. There was a few times I saw Dean Housen, especially in the first half, he would have the ball at his feet. Vinicius would try to make that run in behind the back line, and it was simply not read. So again, I think things like this would only improve with continuity, with the players in the same for positions game in and game out. But the truth of the matter is, we're always changing things. The formations, the positioning of the players. Some games Jude Bellingham is playing deeper, which he played a little deeper today. Uh, I thought Chouameni and Jude Bellingham played well, in addition to Rodrygo. But I mean, those were only a handful of players who played well. I thought obviously Thibaut Courtois came up with a bunch of huge saves, which we obviously needed. Raul Asensio didn't look the most comfortable to me at right back. He never really does, and he also doesn't offer you anything practically going forward playing at right back. This made me think about, were Real Madrid really wise in maybe not renewing Nacho's contract, for example? Nacho is a player who's serviceable. He could have played right back, and he did really well at right back, considering the circumstance. I'm not saying he's one of the best right backs in football. I'm just saying whether it was playing him at center back or right back, he was not the best in the world in either position, but he was more reliable, I felt, and he was more serviceable, and we probably could have used him more, and he would have been a player that would have a lot more minutes even today, even in this season, let alone last season. So again, there seems to be something lacking, because even with Jude Bellingham, as well as he played today, playing at the 8, today was a pretty good performance from him. In terms of not only being able to turn defenders, being able to be good on the ball, his pressing sequences, him winning the ball high up the pitch, many different things that Jude Bellingham did really well. I still thought that Jude Bellingham today, his best position is still at the 10. He contributes so much. You see on that side of the pitch, in the attacking side of the field, whenever he's playing higher up. So that's where you need Jude Bellingham. That's just simply the fact. And you need somebody a little deeper in our midfield to play make a little bit more. And yeah, to the point of somebody made in the chat, which is Nacho left 2 seasons ago. Yes, and yeah, hopefully the point I was trying to make came through, because that's exactly the point I was trying to make. Is although he left 2 seasons ago, I just thought of him as the kind of player who would have played better at right back, because he did play better at right back, and at center back. The performance he had against Manchester City, you guys all remember, where we eliminated them when we went to penalty shootouts. The 1v1 defending against Erling Haaland was really good. All I'm saying is, whether it was Jose Lu or was Nacho, some of these players, not only were they serviceable and they did well in those positions, but they also contributed to the leadership and the culture and the locker room of this football club. It feels like there's something lacking in terms of leadership in the team. There literally needs to be somebody in that team, in the heart of that team, to pick them up and get them to work harder. The lack of intensity in the way we press the ball is so evident. We are practically not pressing the ball, making hardly any effort to try to win the ball back. And that's something to be concerning. Obviously, today, Kylian Mbappe equals Cristiano Ronaldo's record, 59 goals, which is incredible. For him to score 59 goals at Real Madrid, obviously he had many more games to do it than Cristiano Ronaldo, but still, that's a huge feat for anybody. What an incredible talent Kylian Mbappe is. But the truth of the matter is, he can score many more goals if we become a much more efficient team. The fact that he scored 59 goals with some of our poor performances and how badly we've been playing is actually a testament of how good of a player he is. Because some of the games that Kylian Mbappe is scoring in, we're not really creating high quality chances or tap-ins for him. If you went through some of the goals that Kylian Mbappe is scoring, I would guess that at least 15 to 17 of those 59 goals were from outside the area. I'm talking long range, long shots, which, by the way, is such an underrated quality that Kylian Mbappe has. His long range shooting is impeccable. So, again, what an incredible talent. The fact that he plays for Real Madrid is a huge testament to the fact that this football club can attract the best players in the world. But now we just need a player in the center of the park who can really control and dictate play. And we also need to really invest in some high quality fullbacks because I'm sorry, Fran Garcia and Raul Asensio being your two starting fullbacks for Real Madrid is actually laughable. You could take me almost to a mid-table team in the Premier League, and I'll find you better fullbacks than Real Madrid, which is obviously these are not our starting fullbacks, but I mean this is not good enough, right? And let's not get it twisted. It's Danny Carvajal is out, Alexander Arnold is out, Federico Valverde is out, Alvaro Carreras is out. So I understand these are not the first options, but regardless, this is something Real Madrid needs to invest in a big way. Um, Now, just looking at the chat real quick, Articular is better at the 10. I think based on what I've seen so far this season, Articular, when he was combining with Kylian Mbappe, not only was Mbappe benefiting the most, but Articular was his numbers were incredible at that time of the season. Early when Jude Bellingham was out, we seemed to have a little bit more balance at that time. Also, the team as a whole was working harder off the ball, and we were playing in a more conventional 4-3-3 formation. But I think at this point, what I've seen, the sample size is big enough to say that I think Arda Güler is more of a number 10 than he is a deep lying playmaker. He's just simply better playing that. Will he grow and get better as a player if he keeps having continuity playing in a deeper position? Of course he will. But does Real Madrid have the patience, and will they sit there and wait for Arda Güler for him to continue to grow and learn and adjust to that role? I don't know if that Real Madrid will, especially since he plays the 10 so well. So this is the issue that Xabi Alonso has, because once we go to the Super Cup in Saudi Arabia, this is going to be a huge pivotal part of what happens with the squad for the rest of the season. Because if we go to Saudi Arabia and do not come back with a title, we could be looking at the end of Xabi Alonso's time at Real Madrid, which again, I've been very clear in saying that I don't agree with it. I think Xabi Alonso, regardless of what's happening, should continue, because simply not only is it not down to him, and it's not the manager's fault. It also comes down to the fact that who are you going to get realistically to replace him? Who will be better? There are no better options out there than Xabi Alonso at the current moment. Xabi Alonso is the best option in terms of the managers. I've talked about this on Patreon. There's Ayarola, who's at Bournemouth, who's been a long time candidate for Real Madrid to potentially be the manager of Real Madrid. He's doing a really incredible job at Bournemouth. He's one option. He's a guy that also coached at Rayo Vallecano. As you guys know, Rayo is a team that's Madrid based. So not only does he know Madrid, he knows the institution of Real Madrid. He understands the football club. He understands the magnitude of the job, the institution of the club. And you have also somebody I think could be a good interim. Just to be clear, I'm saying interim. And those of you who are on Patreon will know that I said this. Unai Emery. Unai Emery. Many people may look at that and say, well, "Are you crazy? Why would you get a guy like Unai Emery?" But if you look at what he's done with Aston Villa, he's done an excellent job with Aston Villa, and he's also done a really good job with the Arsenal in his first season. Did it fall apart in his second season? Yes. But when you consider the fact that Aston Villa almost knocked out the European champions last season when they went to Villa Park, let's not forget Donnarumma had some huge saves. He had some big saves that prevented uh, almost prevented PSG from making it to the final. It was going to go to extra time, but of course Donnarumma came up with some incredible saves, which helped them get across the finish line. So those kinds of managers who have some experience, and sometimes failures lead to success. If you've had that background and you've managed big football clubs, like Unai Emery obviously coached at PSG, that kind of background will help him understand where it went wrong previously, so that he potentially will not repeat those same mistakes again. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm hopeful that Xabi Alonso will figure out the solution and get this team working a little harder, because ultimately the biggest issue we have is just more intensity needed without the ball. When Real Madrid is out of possession, there's just more intensity that's needed to try to win the ball back high up the pitch. We created so many good chances when we actually press the ball high. And that's one of the things. Franco Masantono is a player that doesn't have the quality that Rodrygo has on the ball, but off the ball, his pressing, the work that he does without the ball, is excellent. And so that's why it makes sense in terms of balancing out your team to have a guy like Franco in there. So these are some of the big questions. And then with regards to Zubamendi, I see what Zubamendi has done at Arsenal in such a short time. I think he's the right profile, but I think a Zubamendi-like player needs to come to Real Madrid, and that kind of player will make Real Madrid a lot better. Now, from what I understand, Xabi Alonso actually wanted Zubamendi to come to Real Madrid. Zubamendi made it clear that he wanted to come to Real Madrid, that he would not go to Arsenal if Real Madrid gave the green light. We did not give the green light as a football club. We turned down the option of signing Zubamendi, so then he's finalized the agreement with Arsenal, even though him and Mikel Arteta spoke. And as many of you know, both Mikel Arteta and Xabi Alonso came up in the Real Sociedad Academy, so they have that connection to the Basque part of Spain. And so Zubamendi was somebody that Xabi Alonso wanted at Real Madrid. And when you see how much better Arsenal are with Zubamendi in there, you can understand why. He's a player who's good in tight spaces. Again, that's something Real Madrid needs. He's ideal in terms of ball progression. He's actually underrated in terms of his tenacity and physicality without the ball. But his pass accuracy is not amongst the highest in Europe. His long range passing is actually not the best as well. So there are some areas where Zubamendi is good, but he's good in many areas. He's not necessarily world class in one area, and he doesn't have. And I did a whole scouting video. I'm sure you guys saw that scouting video where I broke down the different players Real Madrid were linked with over the summer. I looked at Reinders. I looked at Zubamendi. I looked at Florian Wirtz. I looked at a number of different players. So to be frank, I don't know who that right player is right now for Real Madrid to come in, because obviously in the summer Real Madrid will have some big decisions to make. And one of the things I also spoke about is how important and critical it will be for Real Madrid to make sure that Eduardo Camavinga stays healthy, because I think with Eduardo Camavinga, this team is substantially better. He is the missing link when you consider the fact that we practically don't have another type of player like Eduardo Camavinga in our team. If he is healthy and he's fit and he's going to be around for the big important games of the Champions League, and you tell me Real Madrid can play a midfield three of Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga, Tchouaméni, I feel a lot more secure. I'm sure many of you saw the game again. When we had Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, and Tchouaméni, that four midfield with Vinicius and Mbappe up top, and then our back four of Trent, Carreras, and the rest. We're a much stronger side with that starting 11. But then we have not seen that starting 11 since that game because of all the injuries, the knocks. Trent obviously goes down with an injury. Camavinga has problems as well with injuries. But recovering them, especially for the important games that are going to come up in February, is going to be key for us. And hopefully we don't keep putting ourselves in situations where we're relying on Thibaut Courtois to continue to come up with these big saves to try and save us. Because, man, without Thibaut Courtois between the sticks for Real Madrid, I don't even know where we would be. We would be a lot worse right now if we did not have Thibaut Courtois, because the kinds of saves this guy's coming up with on a regular basis, like it's nobody's business, is absolutely insane. So again, to me, that is one of the most underrated things in terms of going forward. I've seen the reports and I'm still doing the research. I'm sure many of you who are on social media have seen reports about the nutrition of the team and how Real Madrid let go of one of their chief nutritionists in the club, who felt that there was a breakdown in some of the systems within the club, because she felt that she was stifled when she was at Real Madrid. She was not empowered to be able to implement many of the things that she wanted at Real Madrid. I'm still researching this, and so I'm still trying to see if it's going to be a better short or if it's a long video, but likely it might be a long video if I can get enough substance and information. And I'm also trying to see if I can get in contact with her to see if I can get her on the YouTube channel and get her to talk to me directly. And I would love to just put that on the main channel to have her give the first-hand point of view of what it's like behind the scenes at Real Madrid at the football club with some of the players and what she saw firsthand. Because I think I'd love to give her my platform for her to speak about what she saw and experienced at the club. Because I think that could be huge. Because from what I understand, she's worked with both not Camavinga, Danny Carvajal and Rodrygo individually, and then she was hired by the club. And this we're talking about. This is the season that Danny Carvajal went on that incredible run, won the Euros, won the Champions League, was the best right back in the world. He attributed much of his success to her. So to the point of Adam, I don't know if she speaks English. That's something that I mean, having been to Spain multiple times, I know that the majority of people in Spain don't know, but I'm trying to see. I'm trying to get in contact and then see if I can potentially do an interview on the channel and have her sort of give that firsthand perspective, because this would explain a lot, right? This would explain a lot because we'll maybe have a better understanding, a better picture of what's going on behind the scenes with how things are being managed. Because it seems certain people are in positions where they're trying to protect themselves, and that's what's contributing to some of the injuries. I've heard reports of some of the players not necessarily getting access to the best quality food, and the recovery is not necessarily being managed well. And she's raised alarm bells and tried to speak with different people about how they need to change things within the football club, and she was silenced and eventually fired. And from what I understand, that information was not necessarily elevated to the level of Florentino for him to really get involved in and and take action on. So yeah, so that's all I got for this one. Let me see if there's anything else in the chat. I think I pretty much covered it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely true, which is that Real Madrid today simply was not good enough. Our performance was not good enough. It's really bad by Real Madrid. And if the most important thing is we got the win. I mean, the game against Talavera, we obviously won by a very narrow margin. Today, we won by again a very narrow margin. But regardless, 3 wins on the bounce, 3 wins that Xabi Alonso needed to keep him at the helm. And I really hope he stays at the helm as long as possible, because I want to see him do well at Real Madrid. And today, again, the problem came down to the fact that we were very complacent when we were out of possession. We did not press the ball aggressively enough. We didn't win the ball high up the pitch, and Sevilla looked like the more organized team. What's need more creativity in the midfield? I absolutely agree, and I know I just sort of touched on that. What's the view on the culture issue? So the thing is with the culture issue, the thing is, it's kind of hard to say that we have a culture issue, because we nobody has more championships, more Champions Leagues, more success than Real Madrid. The demands of the football club. If you're not delivering results immediately, then as a manager, you cannot UCL. Yeah. So the thing is, we can turn things around, and I still think we could do something really great in the Champions League against elite opposition. I'm very confident we still can. I think give Real Madrid time. And the thing is, the problem is my internet is lagging. It shouldn't be. I'm wired in. My internet should not be lagging. But yeah, so the challenge, in my opinion, is against the weaker oppositions, getting these players motivated. That's the problem. But against the bigger sides, I think we can turn up and play a lot better. If you give me the same 11 we had against Bilbao, that 11 can beat Bayern Munich. That 11 can beat PSG. We could beat Arsenal on our day. Absolutely, 100%. With Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius up top, they're playing their best football. They can absolutely win. What's up, Florentino Perez? What's up, brother? I hope you're doing well, man. It's been a while. I haven't seen your name. Do you think Haaland can fit into this team? 100% Haaland can fit in this team, but you have to make room for Haaland, and that's a whole different discussion. I think this is a big season for Vinicius, to be honest. If I'm being completely honest, I think this is a big season for Vinicius for his future at Real Madrid because I do think there's going to be some big changes this summer. I have that feeling. Unless we win the Champions League, then it's maybe one or two signings. But if we don't win a major title like the champion, if we don't get far in the Champions League, win La Liga, and we're going to see some big changes. We have midfield issues. I 100% agree. Yeah. So I'm just seeing some of the stuff in the chat about some of the players that we should have played with. I mean, I completely agreed. And again, this goes back to the whole. Um, this comes down to the fact that we have multiple players that are out injured, and I think that is the number one. If I had to highlight one thing that is top priority number one, it's getting the players not only healthy but keeping them healthy. And if they can do that for the most important part of the season, the upcoming Champions League knockout stages and everything else, we'll be fine. We have the players, player for player. We have the players in the team. I still believe in our starting 11. I still believe in our best 11, but I don't believe in our players that are on the bench to do the job. That's where I feel we fall short. We don't have the depth on the bench that is good enough to beat some of the elite teams in Europe. But if you're telling me Real Madrid's best 11, we can absolutely do damage. Um, yeah. So again, I thought today Vinny was gonna score or do something, assist. But man, he hasn't scored since October, which for Vinicius is simply that's actually wild, considering even where he is on the pitch and the fact that he's been starting in many of these games. Vinny hasn't been playing well. And he hasn't been consistent either. And I don't know what you do because you put a like to the earlier point with Erling Haaland, like hypothetically, if you did have a Haaland in there with Mbappe, I mean, I'm sorry, he'd be sitting on I don't even know how many goals. It needs to improve. That's all it is. It just needs to improve. He needs service as well. But yeah, we're not getting Haaland. You never know. You never know. You never know. It's Real Madrid at the end of the day, and who wouldn't want to play for Real Madrid? I believe that we can get the best football players in the world because every single player's dream is to play for Real Madrid, and why would it not be? So yeah, that's all I got for this one, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Happy holidays, like I said, and happy New Year's to all of you guys. And call me delusional. I just, for whatever reason, I still believe that it's gonna turn around and Xabi Alonso is gonna figure it out. And that's just my personal opinion. I think Xabi Alonso will not be fired, and I believe he's gonna turn it around. And I still think we are capable of winning a major, not just one major, but more than one major trophy. And I'm not pessimistic. I'm not pessimistic. What I've seen, I haven't liked a lot of the things that I've seen from this team. But regardless, I just believe too much in Real Madrid, and I've been here so many times. I've been supporting this club for the majority of my life, and I I I wouldn't be surprised if we turned it around. But yeah, I actually am not that familiar with Nico. I'll take a look at him, but if he's a quality player, I'll take a look and see if he's a Real Madrid quality player. But anyways, all right, guys, that's all I got for this one. Enjoy your holidays and happy New Year's to you all, and Hala Madrid.